Welcome, friends, explorers of art, architectural forms, and their meanings in the streets of European cities. We continue our walk through the German capital, the magnificent Berlin. Berlin is a city that knows what it means to fall and rise again, to experience pain and hope, to be divided and reunited. We begin at a symbol of peace and unity, the Brandenburg Gate. Take a look at the elegant Pariser Platz, feel the pulse of modernity at Potsdamer Platz, and end our route at Checkpoint Charlie, the place where the fault line between East and West once ran. Berlin inspires, sometimes through destruction, sometimes through resistance, but always through honesty. As the German director Rainer Werner Fassbinder once said, every city is a theater, but Berlin is a stage where one can perform the real truth.
If you are in the center of Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate is easily accessible on foot. It is located near the Reichstag building, on Pariser Platz, at the start of the Unter den Linden Boulevard. The Brandenburg Gate is also very well connected by public transportation. The U-Bahn and S-Bahn station Brandenburger Tor is located right at the gate. The U5 subway line runs through the entire city center and connects major stations, such as Alexanderplatz, and the main train station, Hauptbahnhof. The S-Bahn lines S1, S2, S25, and S26 also stop at this station. In addition, bus lines 100, 147, 300, M41, and N5 have stops in the immediate vicinity of the gate.
In front of you, the Brandenburg Gate, one of the most famous symbols not only of Berlin, but of all of Germany. This architectural monument stands as a symbol of change, a dramatic backdrop to history, and at the same time, an expression of hope for peace and freedom. The gate was built between 1788 and 1791 by order of the Prussian King Frederick William II. Contrary to what one might assume, it was not constructed as a defensive structure, but as a triumphal arch, inspired by the architecture of ancient Greece, particularly the propylaea of the Acropolis in Athens. The design was created by Karl Gotthard Langhans, one of the first architects to bring the neoclassical style to Prussia. Even then, the gate symbolized an enlightened monarchy and an order inspired by antiquity. It was named the Brandenburg Gate because this was the point where the road to Brandenburg once began.
The gate consists of 12 Doric columns, 6 on each side, forming 5 passageways. The central passage was originally reserved exclusively for the royal family. The structure stands about 26 meters tall. Atop the gate rises the quadriga, a sculpture of the goddess of victory, Victoria, driving a chariot pulled by 4 horses into the city. This work was created by the sculptor Johann Gottfried Schadow. An interesting fact: after Napoleon's victory over Prussia in 1806, he had the quadriga taken to Paris. It was only 8 years later, after Napoleon's defeat, that the sculpture returned to Berlin, now adorned with the Iron Cross as a symbol of victory. Since then, Victoria has represented not only triumph, but also restored dignity. The quadriga symbolizes the victorious returning troops. The goddess of victory faces east, toward the site where the former royal palace once stood. In her hands, she holds a lance topped with an oak wreath and the Iron Cross, upon which a crowned eagle with outstretched wings is perched.
Throughout its history, the symbolic meaning of the gate has changed several times. In the 19th century, it was regarded as a symbol of Prussian power. During the Nazi era, it became part of the ideology of the Third Reich. Parades and rallies were held here. During the Cold War, it became a symbol of division. The gate stood directly on the border between East and West Berlin, behind the Berlin Wall. Neither East nor West Berliners were allowed to pass through it. After the fall of the wall in 1989, the Brandenburg Gate became a symbol of unity, freedom, and the new Germany. "Anyone who ever saw the Brandenburg Gate closed will never forget the moment it opened," said Helmut Kohl. Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, the famous gate lives on in culture. It has been immortalized in engravings, postcards, and films. For example, in the film Wings of Desire, Der Himmel über Berlin, by director Wim Wenders. Artists and performers often use the space in front of the gate as a place of expression, from peaceful demonstrations to artistic installations.
When you stand in front of the Brandenburg Gate and look toward the Tiergarten, a broad, straight line stretches out before you, seeming to lead into the sky. This is June 17th Street, one of Berlin's main thoroughfares, not just a road, but a deep narrative thread, written in asphalt, trees, and monuments. The street is about 3.5 kilometers long and cuts through the heart of the Tiergarten, the city's green lung. It begins at the Brandenburg Gate and ends at the Victory Column. The perfectly straight road runs through the park, creating an impressive visual axis, a compositional technique that was already popular in the Baroque and neoclassical periods. This space seems to invite the gaze and to be reinterpreted anew. At the center of this perspective stands the gilded goddess of victory atop the column, gleaming in the sunlight like a guiding star. Originally, the street was called Charlottenburger Chaussee and served as a ceremonial route for military parades. But in 1953, it was renamed in memory of the East German workers' uprising of June 17, 1953, a protest against the forced policies of the GDR government. It was the first major protest in the socialist bloc and was brutally suppressed by Soviet tanks. Thus, the street's name became a memorial to civic courage and the struggle for freedom.
Along June 17th Street, between the Brandenburg Gate and the Victory Column, symbolically between east and west, you will find the sculpture The Caller. It is a cry of remembrance, of loneliness, and of irreconcilable pain, frozen in bronze. Its creator is Gerhard Marx, one of the most important German sculptors of the 20th century, a representative of humanist ideals in post-war Europe. The sculpture was installed in 1989, a moment full of symbolism for Berlin, just a few months before the fall of the wall. The roughly 3-meter-tall figure depicts a man standing upright, holding his hands to his mouth as a makeshift megaphone. He calls, into emptiness, into memory, into the future. The title The Caller or He Who Calls, but it carries a deeper meaning. It is a voice addressed to humanity. The figure faces east, as if calling through the wall, across ideological boundaries. The sculpture is shaped in the spirit of expressionism, with a rough, almost painful formal language. The face and posture of the figure express a restrained sense of tragedy, not theatrical, but profoundly human.
Potsdamer Platz is one of the most elegant and symbolic squares in Berlin. It is not merely a geographic point next to the Brandenburg Gate, but a concentrated space of history, architecture, power, and art. Potsdamer Platz lies directly to the east of the Brandenburg Gate. Its shape is almost a perfect square, framed by imposing buildings in both classical and modern styles. The square was named in honor of the capture of Paris by Prussian troops in 1814, following the victory over Napoleon, a symbol of triumph, much like the Brandenburg Gate itself. In the 18th and 19th centuries, this classically elegant square was created as part of a prestigious architectural ensemble, planned by the kings of Prussia. In the 19th century, it was considered the most aristocratic place in the city. Embassies, aristocratic residences, hotels, and literary salons were located here. The square served as a prestigious showcase for the Prussian capital. During World War II, almost all of the buildings were destroyed. In the post-war period, especially after the construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961, the square became a dead zone, part of the border area, inaccessible to the public. It was located on the eastern side of the wall, directly facing the isolated west. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, a careful and artistically thoughtful restoration of the square began. The guiding principle was established: preserve the classical exterior, while integrating modern elements within, to create a contrast between past and future.
The square is lined with significant buildings, both historic and modern. The French embassy was rebuilt incorporating elements of the original structure.
The American embassy was completed in 2008 and carefully integrated into the context of the square.
The Academy of Arts was founded in 1696. The new building, designed by architect Günther Benisch, was opened in 2005. The Academy of Arts is a modern structure that serves as a counterpoint to the classical buildings surrounding the square. It hosts exhibitions, lectures, and creative encounters. In addition, the square is home to the representative office of the Brandenburg Foundation, several banks, and cultural institutions. Potsdamer Platz is a border between history and the present. It brings together the power and monumentality of the Brandenburg Gate, the elegance of 19th-century architecture, and the ideals of openness, dialogue, and culture in post-Soviet Europe. Here, tourists take their must-have photos. Street artists draw portraits, students sit with laptops, and politicians hold press conferences. It is a place where art is not only displayed, but lived. One can sense the spirit of German aesthetics here, in which, as architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe said, less is more.
Hotel Adlon, a famous hotel that has risen again on exactly the same site where it once stood before the war. It is one of Berlin's most legendary symbols, a place where history, luxury, tragedy, art, and politics intertwine. Its fate mirrors, in a unique way, the fate of the city itself. Hotel Adlon is located on Potsdamer Platz, just a few steps from the Brandenburg Gate. It was originally opened in 1907. The current building was reconstructed and has been welcoming guests again since 1997. Today, the hotel belongs to the international Kempinski Group, yet it has retained its individual identity. It was founded by Lorenz Adlon, a restaurateur and visionary who dreamed of creating the finest hotel in Europe. The building was constructed in the style of the Belle Epoque and equipped with the most modern technologies of its time: electricity, telephones, hot running water, elevators, all of which were innovations in the early 20th century. The hotel quickly became a center of high society. Among its guests were Kaiser Wilhelm II, Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, Charlie Chaplin, Enrico Caruso, and later, Mahatma Gandhi, Herbert Wells, Mikhail Gorbachev, Madonna.
The Adlon was not just a place to stay, it was a salon where art, fashion, philosophy, and politics were discussed. Hotel Adlon survived the Third Reich and was used to house members of the Nazi elite. In 1945, after the German capitulation, a fire broke out, caused by the carelessness of Soviet soldiers. Almost the entire building was destroyed. The remaining part was used for technical purposes in East Germany, GDR, and was finally completely demolished in 1984. After German reunification, reconstruction began on the historic site. The new hotel was ceremoniously opened in 1997 and quickly regained its reputation as one of Berlin's five-star icons. The new Hotel Adlon was built in a style that combines elements of neoclassicism and historicism. The facade is rendered in calm beige and sand tones, giving the building a subtle elegance. It is adorned with symmetrical rows of windows, stucco frames, fine decorative columns, and balconies. Inside, guests are welcomed by a sophisticated blend of classic and modern design: marble, glass, wood, antique furniture, and Art Deco elements. Special attention is paid to art and detail: handcrafted chandeliers, custom-made carpets, and installations in the lobby, the Adlon is a bridge between eras, from emperors to democracy, from luxury to ruins and back again. It has become a symbol of a reborn Berlin, a city that does not forget its history, yet always looks forward. Hotel Adlon frequently features in film, literature, and media. Films have been shot within its rooms, and important diplomatic meetings have taken place here. One famous moment, in 2001, Michael Jackson held his baby out of a window of the Adlon for fans to see, a scene that made headlines around the world.
Just a 5-minute walk from the Brandenburg Gate is the world-famous memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe, commemorating those who were barbarically exterminated by the Nazi regime during World War II.
The Holocaust Memorial in Berlin is one of the most powerful and profound works of public commemorative art in the world. It does not merely tell of the tragedy, it makes it physically tangible, through space, silence, and structure. The memorial is located in the heart of Berlin, just a few steps from the Brandenburg Gate and Potsdamer Platz. It was inaugurated on May 10, 2005, marking the 60th anniversary of the end of World War II. The architect is Peter Eisenman from the United States. The memorial consists of 2,711 concrete stelae, rectangular, austere, arranged over an undulating surface of 19,000 square meters. The stelae vary in height, from 20 centimeters to 4.7 meters. Narrow pathways run between them, allowing visitors to walk through. Inside, one experiences a sense of disorientation, loneliness, even discomfort. From the outside, the structure appears monotonous, but it is precisely this monotony that reveals emptiness, both literally and metaphorically. The memorial contains no names, no inscriptions, no explanatory signs. This silence is an intentional design choice. Here, each visitor is invited to feel and reflect in their own way. Architect Peter Eisenman described his work as follows: "You don't know where you are." And that feeling of uncertainty, of disorientation, may be the closest one can come to the feelings of the victims.
Beneath the memorial is an information center, which presents a chronology of the events of the Holocaust, stories of individual families and persons, quotes and letters from victims, memorial rooms with names and biographies, as well as maps and documents related to the extermination camps. It serves as an intellectual complement to the emotional experience above.
Opposite the western side of the Holocaust Memorial lies the eastern edge of the Tiergarten. After crossing the street, we walk toward the monument to the greatest figure in German literature, a genius of global stature who transcended the boundaries of literary art and influenced numerous fields of art and science, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe.
The monument to Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in Berlin's Tiergarten is a majestic sculptural composition made of marble. The idea of erecting a Goethe monument in Berlin arose as early as the 1860s, but it was not until 1872 that a competition was announced for the best design. The winner was the young sculptor Fritz Schaper. The monument was created between 1876 and 1880 and was ceremoniously unveiled in June 1880 in the presence of members of the royal family and other prominent figures. The project marked a breakthrough for Schaper and brought him great acclaim. The monument is made of Carrara marble and granite and stands approximately 6 meters tall.
The central figure is a statue of Goethe himself, approximately 2.7 meters tall, depicting him at a relatively young age, dressed in the courtly attire of late 18th century Weimar. In his right hand, he holds a scroll, while his left hand rests on his hip. The pedestal of the monument, a cylindrical, elevated base, is adorned with 3 allegorical female figures, symbolizing various aspects of Goethe's creative work and influence.
Drama represents Goethe's contribution to dramatic works. Poetry symbolizes his poetic legacy. Science reflects his wide-ranging scientific interests and research. These figures are positioned at the base of the Goethe statue, as if supporting him and highlighting the versatility of his genius. The Goethe Monument is one of Berlin's major cultural landmarks and an important attraction within the Tiergarten. It not only commemorates Goethe's great contribution to German and world culture, but also serves as a place for relaxation and reflection within the park's green surroundings.
From the Goethe Monument, we take a leisurely walk through the shaded avenues of the Tiergarten, as though weaving ourselves into the rhythm of history and the quiet preserved by these trees. Our path leads us toward the Lessing Monument, but along the way we pause at an important and deeply moving memorial, the memorial to the homosexuals persecuted under National Socialism. This simple and silent monument, located in close proximity to the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe, is not placed here by chance. Its presence underscores the many facets of the tragedy inflicted upon people by the Nazi regime. It weaves the suffering of those who were not only deprived of their freedom but also of the right to be themselves into our collective memory. This memorial is not only a place of remembrance, but a call to memory and compassion. It reminds us of how destructive hatred can be, and how vital it is to stand up against intolerance, always and everywhere. It invites everyone who approaches to pause, to look inward, to touch a vulnerable yet unbroken history, and to reflect on the value of human dignity, diversity, and acceptance.
The monument to Gotthold Ephraim Lessing in Berlin's Tiergarten is a monumental structure dedicated to the renowned German writer, philosopher, and publicist of the Enlightenment. It was created by Otto Lessing, a great-nephew of Gotthold Ephraim Lessing. The monument is designed in the neo-Baroque style and is considered one of the works of the Berlin School of Sculpture. Its ceremonial unveiling took place in 1890. The monument consists of a marble statue of Lessing, approximately 3 meters tall, which stands on a 4-meter-high pedestal made of red and grey granite. Bronze medallions on the pedestal depict the portraits of his friends and contemporaries, the philosopher Moses Mendelssohn, the poet Ewald Christian von Kleist, and the writer Friedrich Nicolai. At the base of the monument are 2 allegorical bronze figures. On one side, the genius of humanism with a burning vessel, a lyre, and a laurel wreath. On the other side, an allegory of criticism in the form of a winged youth with a scourge, surrounded by books and scrolls, beside an owl, the symbol of wisdom.
From the Lessing Monument, our route continues toward the Berlin Philharmonic building.
The area around the Berlin Philharmonic is the cultural heart of Berlin, especially for those with an interest in art, architecture, and music. In the immediate vicinity of the Philharmonic is the so-called Kulturforum, an expansive complex of buildings that holds great appeal for art lovers.
The Berlin Philharmonic, it is a living organism, the beating heart of musical Berlin. When you first see it, it appears bold, perhaps even a little angular, with its asymmetrical forms, bright yellow color, and playful angles. It is as if music itself has been cast in stone, yet not frozen, but eternally in motion, dancing to an invisible rhythm. Forget traditional rectangular concert halls. Architect Hans Scharoun completely reimagined the concept of the concert space. Here, the stage is placed at the center, and the audience surrounds it on all sides, like the petals of a blooming flower. You do not sit opposite the musicians, you sit among them, in the very epicenter of the music. This creates an incredibly intimate experience, even when the hall is filled with thousands of people. The Philharmonic building was constructed in the early 1960s for the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, based on a design by architect Hans Bernhard Scharoun, and was officially opened on October 15, 1963. The Berlin Philharmonic was the very first structure to be built as part of the broader Berlin Kulturforum project.
The acoustics, that is a story in itself. Every note, every breath of the flute, every powerful chord of the orchestra sounds with astonishing clarity and depth. Here, music becomes tangible. Here, great works come to life with such intensity that they send shivers down your spine. The Berlin Philharmonic is a temple of sound, and it truly lives up to this title. Among the chief conductors of the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra have been world-renowned stars, such as Herbert von Karajan, Claudio Abbado, and Simon Rattle. Since August 2019, the orchestra's artistic director and chief conductor is Kirill Petrenko, an Austrian conductor.
The chamber music hall adjoins the main building, yet it is a jewel all its own. The chamber music hall is the very essence of intimacy and closeness. If the Philharmonic is a majestic cathedral of music, then the chamber music hall is a secluded chapel, where every whisper of an instrument can be heard with perfect clarity. Here, there is no large orchestra, but rather, the opportunity to immerse oneself in the finest nuances of chamber music, in all its fragility and beauty. Every stroke of a string quartet, every delicate phrase of the piano, nothing escapes your attention. You feel as though you are part of a musical dialogue, a witness to something deeply personal. It is a place where one can truly understand and feel the soul of music, where art reveals its finest and most profound facets.
In the immediate vicinity of the Berlin Philharmonic, at the heart of the Cultural Forum, lies a unique institution, the State Institute for Music Research, with its Museum of Musical Instruments. This is a place where science and art merge, offering visitors a deep immersion into the world of music. Founded in 1888, the Institute is the largest non-university center for musicological research in Germany. It is divided into three main areas: music theory and history, acoustics and music technology, and the Museum of Musical Instruments, the centerpiece of the Institute, which houses one of the most extensive collections of musical instruments in Germany. In addition, the Institute features a specialized library, with around 67,000 volumes, and modern studios for acoustic research.
The Museum of Musical Instruments offers visitors a unique opportunity to explore more than 800 musical instruments, spanning the period from the 16th to the 21st century. The entire collection includes around 3,600 exhibits. The collection of keyboard instruments features, among others, harpsichords from the Flemish Ruckers family, pianos, clavichords, as well as unique pieces such as the portable harpsichord of Queen Sophie Charlotte. The collection of string instruments includes violins by masters such as Amati, Guarneri, and Stradivari, as well as other rare examples. Among the organs is the famous mighty Wurlitzer theatre organ, one of the largest in Europe, which is still regularly used for concerts.
Near the Philharmonic, we see the Museum of Decorative Arts. It is one of the oldest museums of its kind in Germany and is dedicated to the history of applied arts, decorative arts, fashion, and design. The collection includes jewelry, ceramics, glass, textiles, as well as a chronological overview of the history of interior design from the late Middle Ages to the present day.
The Berlin Picture Gallery is one of the largest and most important painting collections in the world, showcasing works of European art from the 13th to the 18th century. Here, visitors can admire masterpieces by artists such as Raphael, Botticelli, Rembrandt, Titian, Caravaggio, Bruegel, Bosch, and many others.
In this red building you will find the Art Library, one of the largest collections of art books in the world. It holds publications on archaeology, anthropology, art, and cultural history. The same building also houses the print room, one of the most important collections of prints and drawings worldwide.
After passing the Evangelical Lutheran St. Matthew's Church, a church built in the 19th century in the neo-Romanesque style, we approach the new National Gallery. The new National Gallery, located within the Cultural Forum, is the museum of 20th century art and part of the Berlin National Gallery. The museum building, which opened in 1968, was designed by architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and is considered a masterpiece of 20th century modern architecture. The museum is renowned for its rich collection of 20th century art, including works by Picasso, Matisse, Kirchner, and Klee.
The Berlin State Library is one of the largest research libraries in Europe and holds extensive collections covering all fields of knowledge. Behind the library, on a parallel street, are the buildings of the casino and the theatre at Potsdamer Platz.
The theatre at Potsdamer Platz is one of Berlin's most famous theatre buildings and is located on Marlene-Dietrich Platz. It was designed by architect Renzo Piano and opened in 1999. With a capacity of 1,754 seats, the theatre is one of the largest in Germany. The building is notable for its modern architecture, including a 35-meter-high glass facade and a 6-story interior staircase. Originally, the theatre was designed for musicals and other stage productions. Among its well-known performances are the musicals The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Cats, Mama Mia, and Hinterm Horizont.
Since the year 2000, the theatre transforms each February into the Berlinale Palast, the main venue of the Berlin International Film Festival Berlinale. This is where the festival's opening and closing ceremonies take place, as well as the premieres of competition films and the awarding of the Golden Bear and Silver Bear prizes. During the festival, the theatre is completely converted. Stage decorations are removed. An 8 by 18 meter cinema screen is installed, and state-of-the-art projection and sound technology is set up. Then, the red carpet is rolled out for film stars from around the world. Outside of the festival, the theatre continues to serve as a venue for a variety of events, including concerts, theatrical performances, and special events.
Now we continue on toward Potsdamer Platz, one of the most symbolic and at the same time most dramatic places in Berlin. The square began to develop as early as the 18th century, as a crossroads at the Potsdam Gates. 200 years ago, this was just a country road along which the emperors would ride from Potsdam into the capital. At the beginning of the 20th century, Potsdamer Platz became a symbol of progress. Europe's first traffic light was installed here, cafes invited people to linger, trams ran through the streets, and nightlife was booming. Cabarets and cafes were filled with artists, writers, and free spirits. But World War II destroyed almost everything. Afterward, the square became a no-man's land. Quite literally, this is where the Berlin Wall ran. A place that once divided two worlds, dominated by silence and fear. And then, a dramatic transformation. After the reunification of Germany, Potsdamer Platz became a symbol of a new beginning. It was completely redesigned, yet with respect for the past.
And now, a contrast. Right next to the majestic architecture and the walls of history lies the Legoland Discovery Center, an ideal place for relaxation and childlike joy. But it's not just a delight for children. Hundreds of thousands of Lego bricks form a miniature Berlin here. The TV Tower, the Brandenburg Gate, the Reichstag, all painstakingly built by hand from Lego bricks. Adults, too, find inspiration in this miniature Berlin, created from thousands of intricate Lego details. Who says that art can't be play? Here, one can experience true art, on a small scale.
The center at Potsdamer Platz, known as the Sony Center until March 2023, is a modern architectural complex in the heart of Berlin, located at Potsdamer Platz. It was designed by architect Helmut John and built between 1995 and 2000 on a site that had been destroyed during World War II and later lay in the no man's land between East and West Berlin. The complex consists of 8 buildings, grouped around a central, open forum, which is spanned by an impressive roof of steel, glass, and semi-transparent membrane. This roof is intended to symbolically represent Mount Fuji and creates the effect of a virtual city within the real city. The complex includes offices, residences, restaurants, shops, and cultural institutions. As of May 2025, the Film House, which previously served as an important center for film art, is in a transition phase. Following the expiration of the leases and the departure of its former institutions, the current use and future plans for the building have not yet been made public. Today, the center at Potsdamer Platz remains a popular attraction for both tourists and locals, offering a wide range of cultural and entertainment events. It is considered one of the most striking symbols of modern Berlin architecture. Its central glass and steel roof floats above visitors like a vast, glowing sail, especially in the evening, when the lighting transforms the center into a futuristic space station.
The most famous buildings at Potsdamer Platz are the high-rises Baan Tower and the headquarters of Daimler-Benz. The Baan Tower, headquarters of Deutsche Bahn, designed by architect Helmut John, rises like a blade slicing through the sky. The Daimler-Benz high-rise, designed by architect Renzo Piano, features strict lines, glass facades, and innovative forms. Glass towers, offices, cultural centers, pedestrian zones, all of this fascinates us at this square. Each building here is like a statement, an architectural essay on memory, future, and renewal. The Daimler-Benz tower resembles a chess piece, ready for the next move. And the Baan Tower reaches skyward, a symbol of movement and connection. What once lay in ruins is now a symbol of architectural courage and urban daring. This quarter has been almost recomposed as an artwork in the spirit of postmodernism. Or, as the artist Joseph Bayeux said, every human being is an artist. Especially anyone who is able to sense space.
Directly in front of you stand fragments of the Berlin Wall. They stand here as silent witnesses. Rusting concrete with graffiti, bullet holes, and scratches, this is not merely an artifact, this was once a border that separated millions of people from one another. Today, it is a symbol of freedom and a reminder of the value of peace. These are original sections of the Berlin Wall, not a reconstruction, but genuine witnesses to history. The grey concrete blocks, covered in graffiti, speak more powerfully than any narrative. They remind us of how the Soviet totalitarian regime once divided the city and the lives of its people.
From Potsdamer Platz, we continue walking towards Square of the People's Uprising of 1953. At Leipziger Platz, there are 2 very interesting museums, the German Spy Museum and the German Museum. As you've surely noticed by now, Berlin is incredibly rich in museums, with over 170 of them. Among these are many large and famous museums. But Berlin also offers numerous smaller and thematic museums, covering everything from art and history to science and film, as well as more unusual topics, such as the Currywurst Museum. For visiting the museums, you should definitely plan enough time, depending on your interests, anywhere from 1 hour to 2 or 3 hours per museum.
If you're feeling tired and would like to rest or grab a bite to eat, the Mall of Berlin is just the right place. The Mall of Berlin is one of the largest and most modern shopping centers in Berlin, centrally located at Leipziger Platz, right next to Potsdamer Platz. The impressive glass dome and wide galleries create a bright and open atmosphere. Since 2022, 7 Buddy Bear statues have stood on the ground floor, symbolizing tolerance and diversity in Berlin. The Mall of Berlin was built on the site of the former Wortham department store. which, before World War II, was considered the largest department store in Europe. After its destruction and many years of neglect due to the division of Berlin, the area was restored and transformed into a modern shopping center. On the second floor, you'll find one of the largest food courts in Germany, offering a wide variety of international cuisine, from Asian specialties to traditional German dishes.
Opposite the Mall of Berlin is the Federal Council. The Federal Council of Germany represents the interests of the country's 16 federal states at the federal level. It is housed in a historic building that was constructed in 1904, based on designs by architect Friedrich Schulze, in the Neo-Renaissance style. Originally, it served as the seat of the Prussian House of Lords, the first chamber of the Prussian Parliament. After World War I, it became the home of the Prussian State Council. During the Nazi era, the building was used for various state purposes. It was severely damaged during World War II, but was restored in the post-war years. From 1946, the Academy of Sciences of the GDR used the building. Between 1997 and 2000, it was extensively renovated and adapted to meet the needs of the Federal Council. Since then, the sessions of the Federal Council have been held here.
The building's facade is adorned with a monumental neo-classical portal featuring 6 columns, and a pediment designed by sculptor Otto Lessing. The central element of the pediment is the figure of Borussia, which symbolizes Prussian statehood. Borussia is the Latin name for Prussia. Inside the building, visitors will find a spacious foyer, meeting rooms, and domed ceilings with preserved stucco and fresco elements. During the renovation in the 1990s, modern artistic elements were added, including the installation The Three Graces by artist Rebecca Horn. The Federal Council is open to visitors. On weekdays, guided tours are offered, where visitors can learn more about the responsibilities, role, and organization of the Federal Council, as well as the historic building itself. The tours take place at set times, and advance registration is recommended.
The square of the Uprising of the 17th of June, 1953 in Berlin, is a memorial site located at the intersection of Leipziger Straße and Wilhelmstrasse, directly in front of the building of the Federal Ministry of Finance. This site holds profound historical significance, as it was here, on June 17, 1953, that mass protests by workers and citizens of East Berlin took place against the policies of the GDR government. The uprising quickly spread throughout the entire GDR, involving more than 1 million people in around 700 cities and towns. The protesters demanded the reversal of increased work quotas, better working conditions, free elections, and political reforms. The GDR government responded with brutal force, using Soviet troops to violently suppress the uprising, resulting in numerous casualties and arrests.
In the square in front of the former House of Ministries, now the Federal Ministry of Finance, there is a memorial commemorating the uprising of the 17th of June, 1953. It consists of a depiction of demonstrators embedded into the paving stones and serves as a reminder of the struggle for freedom and democracy. Each year, on June 17th, official commemoration ceremonies are held here, with wreath-laying attended by representatives of the federal government, the Berlin Senate, and various political parties. A visit to this square offers an opportunity to better understand German history and to honor those who fought for freedom and democracy in difficult times.
We now continue toward Checkpoint Charlie. On the way, we pass the Air Service Berlin station. This is one of the most spectacular viewing platforms in Berlin, offering the unique opportunity to ascend 150 meters above the city in a tethered helium balloon. The gondola can hold up to 30 people, and the ascent lasts about 15 minutes. This balloon is one of the largest tethered passenger hot air balloons in the world. From this height, You are treated to a breathtaking panoramic view of landmarks, such as the Brandenburg Gate, the Reichstag, Potsdamer Platz, the Tiergarten, and many others.
Checkpoint Charlie is one of the most famous symbols of the Cold War and of divided Berlin. It was located at the intersection of Friedrichstrasse and Zimmerstrasse, and served as the most important border crossing between East and West Berlin for foreigners, diplomats, and members of the Allied forces. The name Charlie comes from the third letter of the phonetic alphabet, C, following Alpha and Bravo. After the construction of the Berlin Wall in August 1961, Checkpoint Charlie became the site of several high-tension incidents between East and West. The most famous was the tank standoff in October 1961, during which 10 American and 10 Soviet tanks faced each other directly. A confrontation that nearly escalated into an armed conflict. Near the checkpoint also occurred the tragic death of Peter Fechter, an 18-year-old East German, who was shot while trying to escape to the west and was left gravely wounded in the so-called death strip. His death caused worldwide outrage.
The Black Box Cold War exhibition, located right next to Checkpoint Charlie, offers a deep insight into the history of the Cold War. Inside, visitors will find multimedia stations and original exhibits, such as dosimeters, Soviet cameras, and tank models. At the site of the former Checkpoint Charlie, there is also an open-air exhibition that tells the story of escape attempts, the history of the checkpoint, and its role in international politics. Photographs, information panels, and remnants of the wall allow visitors to truly immerse themselves in the atmosphere of that era.
The visit to Checkpoint Charlie marks the final stop of our tour today. This is a poignant place where ideologies clash not only with tanks, but also with glances, fears, and dreams. One can still feel the tension lingering in the air here. And perhaps you will find inspiration here for your own creations, whether in visual art, on stage, or in literature. As the British musician and actor David Bowie, who lived in Berlin in the 1970s, once said, "Berlin is a city that saved me. It allowed me to be honest." Berlin is like a canvas, on which history has yet to be fully written. And perhaps you will be the one to add the next brushstroke. Thank you very much for your attention.